when I was creating blocks, these are two blocks here. I've got an X block here, and I have, or a square block, and I have a circle block here with an X running through them. And and I have them created slightly differently from each other. The X block, let me just edit the block in place here. So this square with the X in it, I created all of these lines on layer 0 right up here. So they are all on layer 0. The line, when I created the block, when I actually drew these lines and created the block, I put all of those lines on layer 0. So let me discard those changes. On this block, when I created it, these lines I put on the walls layer. You'll notice that I have, as I select an object here, it's on the walls layer. So these were all created on the walls layer. They look identical, but and right now they are both on the walls layer. The components of the block, each of the pieces of this block were created on layer 0, and all of the pieces of this block were created on the walls layer. And the blocks themselves are both right now on the walls layer. So let me take this block and I'm going to put it on a different layer. I'll put it on the furniture layer, right? Because that's a layer we might use later on. So you'll notice that as soon as I put it on the furniture layer, the block assumed the properties of the furniture layer. So what are the properties of the furniture layer? Well, if I go over to layer properties here, and I look at furniture, I put it on furniture 2. One of the properties is the color, and in this case, the color is cyan. So when I put this layer on the furniture 2 layer, it assumed those properties, which is cyan. And if I put it on furniture 1, it assumes the color of furniture 1. If I put it on dimensions, it assumes that color. So anywhere I put this layer, it assumes the properties of that layer. Now, this layer, which right now is on the walls layer, if I put that on the furniture 2 layer, you'll notice that it has stayed white. It hasn't changed color. It has not adopted the properties of the furniture 2 layer. When I select the block, you'll notice that it is on the furniture 2 layer. It is, but the properties of the block are the walls 2 properties, because it was created, the components of the block were created on the walls 2 layer. Let me edit this block. I'm going to edit in place. And I'll just take one of this diagonal line, and I'm going to change that to layer 0. That is the layer it should have been. And if I save the changes, now you'll notice that that line is assuming the properties of whatever layer this is on, which is the furniture 2 layer. If I change this to the dimensions layer, it assumes the properties of the dimensions layer. So it is absolutely critical. It is really, really, really important for when you create your blocks to put them on, put the line work on layer 0. And then when that's done, no matter what the block is, and you put it on another layer, it will assume those properties and it will be on that layer. Is that clear to everybody? Is anyone confused about that? Okay, I noticed a few people were having difficulty understanding that. what, as I was grading the assignment, and I can understand that. I might not have been totally clear when I explained it, but I do want to stress the importance of getting, when you're creating a block, putting it on the correct layer. All right, enough of that.
I have a question.
Yes, of course.
It would be best to like prioritize layers, like when we're working within a floor plan, like after the walls have been built, like the next layer would be like usually doors and windows. Is that up to our own discretion?
You're talking about like changing these blocks to like a doors layer.
Yeah.
Yeah, normally, yes, certainly in an office, yes, those doors would be on a doors layer, your windows would be on a windows layer, columns would be on a columns layer, your plumbing would be on a plumbing layer. But for this class, and again, I'm just kind of adopting this class from the way Jane taught it in the past. And she is putting all of those components onto a one layer, which is called walls, and the walls layer is white, which I wouldn't do either. I would make every single layer a different color except for layer 0. But in answer to your question, yes, normally that is what you would do. For this class, though, let's just keep it all on the walls layer, just for uniformity and consistency. I have a feeling that next semester, well, I don't know what, I haven't looked closely enough at the curriculum for next semester, but if it's not on the next semester, if each of those components are not on their own layers, I'm going to make sure that they are, because I agree with you. It's not really the right way to do it. Sorry for that long-winded answer, but does that answer your question?
Yeah, because we're learning like different like shortcuts, and it would be easier if we could identify them with certain objects or abstractions within like the design concept, like barriers that we like come across.
Yeah, yes, I understand. I understand what you're saying. Yes, I agree. I think that would be the professional way to do it. Yeah.
Paul, it's Rebecca. I have a question. I had a challenge that I kept running into. When I was trying to draw a line, let's say I was drawing a line between the two pillars, just for argument's sake.
Yeah.
And I would find the middle, the center point of one pillar, and I'd go to draw a straight line across, and it would snap to the end point instead. Like it was
snapping to here, but it wasn't snapping to here.
No, it was snapping, and it kept happening. Like when I was trying to draw, it was up in the bathroom, actually, in the center wall, the plumbing wall. I was trying to I found the center line right at the top, right about where you are. And then when I was trying to draw a line straight down, like a center line, just for myself, it was like snapping over a midway to the right. So like keep going. It was like snapping over there.
Is that because perhaps you didn't have that door in place?
No, I did.
And so let me go over to the line tool here.
Actually, I didn't, because I was trying to, I'm lying. That's when I was trying to mirror.
So you were trying to mirror. Okay.
But I was drawing a line for myself. I did it a little.
A line down like this, right?
Yes, but then it snaps to the midpoint of the other.
But what it was doing was it was snapping to here.
Yeah.
Rather than here.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm curious about is why it didn't snap to perpendicular. Notice mine is snapping to perpendicular, which is straight down.
I kept having that a lot where it wasn't snapping to perpendicular, even when my ortho was on. I mean, I was trying like, snap.
And you checked over here and made sure that perpendicular was checked. All right.
Well, actually, hold on. Maybe I'm lying about that.
Well, if it wasn't, and this is something that,
Oh, you know what? It wasn't.
okay. Well,
So
here,
there's my problem.
this is something that I should mention to you all in any case. Let me just I'm going to turn my OSNAP off for just a moment here. So now I'm not excuse me. I'm not snapping to anything. It's just my lines are just kind of coming down. And if I want, and I have, let me turn off polar tracking here too. So if I want to come down and for whatever reason, I don't have OSNAP on, and I want to snap to the perpendicular of this line. There are, for each of the snaps, there is a shortcut that you can type in. So if I want to snap to perpendicular, I can type PER and hit enter, and it will snap only to the perpendicular. It won't snap to anything else. It won't snap to an endpoint or anything. It'll only snap to perpendicular. And even if I have my OSNAPs on, let's just say I want to draw a line from here to perpendicular to this line here. And for some reason, it's not, that it just isn't going to perpendicular. I can type PER for perpendicular, and it will snap to the perpendicular of that line. I can also, I can do it for all of them. Let's just say endpoint, END. I can just type in END and enter or spacebar, and it will, no matter where I am on the, no matter where, look, I'm hovering, my cursor is over here, but look off to the right. The snap is all the way at the endpoint there. So in case, if there's ever an instance where you know that you want to snap to that endpoint, but maybe there's a lot of stuff over there, or you don't feel like moving your mouse over there or whatever, you can type END and, oops, I typed ENF, yeah, END and enter or space bar, and it will snap to that endpoint. So, and that goes for all of the snaps. That if you just type the first three letters, END, MID, CEN, INT is intersection, PER perpendicular, it will automatically snap to that, to that snap point. So I don't know if that answered your question clearly, Rebecca.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Snap works even with OSNAP turned off.
Yes.
Okay,
OSNAP
awesome.
turned on or off, it will work. Yes. So that is just a little pointer, possibly to make your life easier. I don't use it all that often, but there are times where I have, it's been tough for me to get a perpendicular, or it's tough for me to get a midpoint of something. So I'll just type MID enter or MID spacebar, and it will snap to that midpoint. So that's a little hint or shortcut for you that hopefully may work for you, or you might find useful at some point. All right, so let's dig in. I'm gonna go back to my image here, and I'm gonna zoom in sort of in this corner right here. So I've got a number of offices here, and you'll notice on this plan, there aren't a whole heck of a lot of dimensions here. There's a 5-foot dimension here, but there aren't a real lot. And you'll find that if you are doing space planning or design for an office type situation, and my office, we do lots and lots of office work. So this happens very, very frequently in our office. Mullions or walls, partitions are often centered on the mullions, on the glass window line. So, oh, that's blurry. So I've got a window mullion right here. And this partition is going to be centered on that mullion. And so what the contractor does is they literally will center a stud here on the mullion, and they will screw it into the end to the end of the mullion, and then align all of the studs across the room, and then lay up the drywall on both sides. And that's how they'll build the room. And no one is dropping a tape measure or anything to measure this. It's just going to that mullion. So they count 3 windows, 1, 2, 3, and there's where the wall is. For this associate, there's 1 window, the column, the next window, and then that line goes, or that wall goes in too. So often when you are space planning, or when you are designing in an office type situation where there's curtain wall, or continuous lines of glass that are separated by mullions, it is very, very, very common to just have partitions in. And to the untrained eye, someone would say, well, where do those partitions go? Well, they go right to the mullions. Notice here at this law library right here, let me zoom in here, there's no mullion here, but we know that this partition is located so that it aligns with the bottom, with this face of the column. So so that is a very common way for the contractors, the guys out in the field. I shouldn't say guys, because there's women there too, and they will lay up their all the partitions. That first they chalk them. They put chalk lines down to locate them, and then they put the studs up. But they locate them according to where other things are, existing things in the building shell, which is what we drew last week, which was the columns, the toilet rooms, and the glass line. So these partitions here for like the kitchen, those will align with the face of the toilet room wall here. So again, we don't need to dimension that stuff when we're doing our construction drawings. So okay, so I'm going to put in a wall here that is all the partitions right here. There's a note here, all doors are 36 inches wide, and all interior partitions or walls are 5 inches thick. So that's fine. So I'm going to have a wall here that is centered on this mullion. So how do I do? So let's first go into that area, and I'm gonna be on my walls layer here, and I'm gonna go over to the third partition here. And I guess what I could do is, I know that the partition, the mullion is 2 inches, so it's a 5-inch partition minus 2 inches is 3 inches, and half of 3 inches is 1.5 inches. So I could go up 1.5 inches. I could go to my line tool here, and then just want to make sure that my snap tracking is on. I could go up here and then go up 1.5 inches, 1.5, and then draw my line across that way. And that would be perfectly fine. That would work. Another way I could do it is I could draw a line from the midpoint of this mullion. Well, this mullion right here doesn't really have, I don't get a midpoint, because if you remember, this line here is continuous. It goes from here all the way down to here. And there isn't a line that marks or denotes just the width of that mullion. So what I would have to do is I would have to draw a line from the end point of the mullion to the other end point of the mullion. So now I have a little mini line that's right there. And I can draw a line from the midpoint of that mullion line, and I'll just go across some distance here, doesn't matter. And now I can offset half of 5 inches, which is 2.5 inches, right? So I'll just offset 2.5 and come across, and now I have this line. So and then I could just, offset 2.5 inches on this side, offset 2.5, and those two lines should align, and they do. And now I have a 5-inch thick partition. Let's just make sure. Go from here to here. Yes, that's 5 inches. So that is how we are locating that partition. And I'm just going to get rid of that little mullion line there. And I've got another line here that I'll just get rid of that. So that is how we are locating that partition. Oops, I got rid of too many. So let's just offset that 2 inches. So I want to be careful of that. All right. Now that partition is going to run clear across. Let's just look at our drawing again here. So that partition is going to run clear across all the way to this mullion. So so there's a couple ways I can do that, right? I can click on the grips and I can do grip editing, click on the grip, and I can extend that all the way over to that glass line there. And I could do the same with the other one. Let me undo that. I'm just going to hit Control-Z to undo that. But there is another way that I'd like to show you how to do it, and that is using the Extend tool. The Extend tool is, there's 3 ways to access it. So we've got the Trim tool up here, and there's a little button here, and when I click on it, there is Extend. And what Extend will do is it will extend to the next line. It'll extend this straight across to the next line it finds, which would be this line right here. It'll extend to that line. So I'm just going to click on it, and boom, it extended right to it. And if I wanted to go to the glass line here, to this mullion line, I can just hit Extend again, and it will go over to that line there. So that is the Extend tool. Another way to do it, I'm going to hit Control-Z to undo it. Another way to do it is type from the keyboard EX. And that gets me into the Extend tool right there. And again, it will do the exact same thing. As soon as I hover over the line or click on it, it will extend to the next line that it would normally intersect. And the third way to do it is, let me get back to the Trim tool here. If I for my walls, hold on here. With my walls. Okay. So the third way to do it is I can go into the Trim tool. So I click Trim, and so I'm not trimming. I want to extend. So instead of trimming, what I can do is I can hold my Shift key down. And now when I hover over, it will extend. So that's nice because now I don't have to click, and go to Extend here. I can always leave this on Trim. So if I want to trim, I can trim easily. And if I want to extend, I hold Shift down, and then I can extend to, the next line. So that is, it's a very useful tool, Extend. I use it an awful lot. So that is another way for you to, get those lines to go all the way across. Of course, the other way to do it is to actually draw the line, right? To start at this point and actually draw the line to the perpendicular over here. Any questions on that?
Yeah, Paul, if you're not hitting EX, where is it up top again that you would click Extend?
If I'm not hitting what?
If you're not typing EX, where's the button that you would click on for Extend? I missed that.
Well, you can click on the Trim tool and then hold Shift to extend, or just to the right of the Trim tool is a little down arrow, and when I click on that, Extend
there, okay.
is right there. It's sort of tucked underneath Trim. All right, so All right, so I have that associate's wall down, or the partner's wall down, and the walls that are going to be running vertically on this are 5 feet from the baseboard heater over here. So, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to trim this out right here. And I'll trim it out over here, because the walls are actually going to sit on top of the baseboard. This baseboard heater may be continuous, but the walls are going to sit on top. So we're not going to actually see, we'll see the wall on top of the baseboard. So the baseboard won't appear to go continuous. So 5 feet over is the next wall. So I'm going to offset 5 feet and draw, I'll offset 5 inches. And and let's plop a door in here. Well, I have a door already over here. Now, where does this door go? Well, generally what I like to do is, what I don't want to have a mullion, a door frame that is sitting right next to the baseboard heater. I like to bring it out a little bit, and I generally like to bring it out about 2 or 3 inches. So I'm going to bring it out 3 inches. So I'm just going to offset, or no, actually, you know what I'll do? I'll just make, I just want to make sure my object snap tracking is here. So I'll hover over this intersection. I'll go across 3 and then go down. And there, that will mark my mullion, and I'll just offset that 2. And while I'm at it, I'll get the door, which is 36, 3 feet. And while I'm at it, I'll just get this mullion right here. And then I've got a door over here already. And I know that that door is 36 inches. So I will copy, and I will go from the hinge point here to the hinge point here. And I just need to change the width to 5. And I'll just trim up this out here. I've got that in. All right. And then I can, while I'm trimming, I'll just trim this out right here too. All right. So now I have a bunch of other walls.
Hey, Paul,
Yeah.
I just want to confirm one thing. When you did the door jamb, that was 3 inches from not the.
I did it 3 inches from the face of the baseboard. So this
Okay.
dimension here is 3 inches.
Got it.
3 inches, and then the 2-inch door frame. All right, so now I've got more walls, right, that are coming up, and what I could do the same thing again, right? Go 1.5 inches over and up, but I've already have some walls drawn. So let's just copy these. So I'll copy, and I'll just do a crossing here to select them both because I'm too lazy to click. And we need to choose a base point. So the main thing to remember is whatever base point we choose here, we have to find the same type of point over here at the next location. So I'm going to choose, and you can choose any one you want, but I'm going to choose this lower right-hand corner of the mullion, of the window mullion. I'm going to choose that point. And now I will copy, and let me just see here. There is an associate's office, and I will choose again the lower right-hand corner of the mullion. And there, I have the next wall in. And then I've got 3. Well, I have that one. So let's skip that one. Let's go up to the one by the kitchen, which is 2 windows over. So I've got that right there. And for this wall aligns with this edge here. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this wall. And this time I will choose this end point of the wall. I want the end point of the wall to align with the end point of the column. So that's why I'm choosing the endpoint, and that's why I'm moving it there. So there, now I've got my walls set up there for my offices. I can do fillet here. And I can trim these little walls off here. So another thing about trim, and I might have mentioned this before. So if I just click trim and I want to trim this here, what I need to do is trim this piece and then this piece, right? This piece and then this piece. But there, let me undo that. But there is another thing that I can do with trim. I'll click trim here, and down here there are some options here: cutting edge, crossing, mode, and erase. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click cutting edges, and I'm clicking cutting edge, and it's asking me to select the cutting edge, and I'm going to choose this line right here, this inside face of the wall. Because what I want to do is I want to trim up to this wall here. I want to trim all of this superfluous stuff, this and this, this and this, all the way up to this wall. So I'm going to click this. This is my cutting edge. And now it's asking me to select the objects I want to trim. And now when I select that, oh wait, I can have more than one cutting edge, sorry. So I selected the one, but now it's asking me if I want to select more cutting edges. I don't, so I'm just going to hit enter or my space bar. And now it's asking me select the object to trim. So I will trim that and trim that. Notice it's trimming it with one click all the way back here rather than this piece and then that piece. It trims it right back to this cutting edge. So that is another little trim shortcut for you if you want to, rather than doing lots of clicking when you're doing the trim command, you can trim back stuff pretty easily that way. All right, so now what I'm going to do, I'll just do it old style here. Clean that up. All right. What's next? I've got a door. I have another door that I need to put over here. And I've got this door here. So I'm going to copy. I'll just copy this door and I'll copy the door frame too. What the heck? And I'll just move it up here. And now I'm going to rotate it. Select it, click a base point, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. And now I need to just move it into place. So this edge of the mullion right here, that corner of the mullion will align with this corner of the wall. So I'll use my move tool and I'll move this over. Again, I'm going to select that corner of the mullion and move it over to that corner of the wall. So the door is swinging in the wrong direction, but who cares, right? Because these are dynamic blocks. I can click on it and switch the swing of the block just perfectly. Now I just need to trim that out. And I'm good. So let's see, the library has a door too. So what I'll do is I will copy this over. And let's think about it. I want this corner of the mullion to align with this corner of the wall. So I will select this corner as my base point, move it up to this corner of the wall, trim. I've got door number 2. Now over here, I've got another door that is swinging this way. Well, I could mirror that, but I need to have a mirror line. I need to have the center of where I'm going to mirror. So what I could do is I could draw just a little temporary line here and then mirror across from the midpoint of that line. So let's draw a quick little temporary line here. Line, And all right, it's going from here. So I'll just go from here to here. Good. And now I'm going to use the mirror tool. Click mirror, and I'm going to select my door. And now it's asking for the first point of the mirror line, which is this midpoint of this temporary line that I drew here. And I'll just go right across. I'll just click somewhere out here. Do I want to erase the source objects? No, I do not. So I'll click no, no. There I have the second door there. I'll just trim that out. And I will also erase that temporary line there. So what else? I've got a wall over here.
Paul, what's
Perpendicular. Yes,
the difference between erase and trim? Could you have just trimmed that line? Are they kind of the same thing?
this line here.
Yeah,
No, I could not have done that because the extent of this line is from here to here, from this point to this point. So if I click trim, oh, you know what? I'll be a monkey's uncle. You can do it. Wow. I
Huh,
swear,
okay.
I swear to God, that's something I have never, ever done. So
yeah, because I've used it and it works, so I didn't know if there was
well,
a reason why I shouldn't be using it, or if it's one of the same in a way.
well, you get an A for the day because you taught me something, because I have never ever used trim to erase that piece of a line. So great. That's even one less tool that we can use. You can just keep doing trim and get rid of that. So yes, great. All right. So where was I? So I need a door into the kitchen. So again, I'm gonna mirror this door. Or you know what? Actually, you know what I'll do? Oh, I need a mullion here. I think what I'll do is I'll just take this door and copy it over there. So I'll just copy, go from that point to here, trim that out. Trim that. And I've got my walls. Let's see, are the walls the same on the other side? Not quite, but maybe we can mirror some of this stuff, right? So let's go to mirror, and I can mirror that. I can certainly mirror this office and that. I can mirror this piece of wall. And I think that's all I can mirror. So I need to find a midpoint, right? So the midpoint could be anything. It could be this, maybe that point there, or this point up here, or it could be if my doors are exactly in the middle, and I hope that they are. Just come up. Do I want to erase source objects? No, thank you. So I have half of those walls already done. Oh, and you know what? I can mirror this too here. So let's go MI for mirror, and I will select that. And I'll choose this point here. Mirror that. And let's fillet this. And then I have a little piece of wall here that I need to copy up here. So I will just copy. And again, I want to think about it. So I'm going to go from this lower left-hand corner of the mullion to this lower left-hand corner of the mullion. So I'll select my base point, this point here, and I will go to that point And I've got one more wall, and that is going to this point here. All right. So, these don't line up. Is that okay? Yeah, that's perfectly fine. And particularly in interior commercial projects, you will find that. Oftentimes you'll see a little jog in the wall and things don't always line up perfectly. So I would rather have the jog here than have like a weird jog that would come down here and then over. So this will be fine. And this is in a conference room, so I'm not too worried about it. So the last thing is I just need to get in some more doors right here, right? So I'll just you know what I can do? I can take, let me think. Let's see here. I can take these two doors. Is that right? Yeah, and I can put them there. So let's copy those. So I'll copy. All right, so now let's think about this. So I'm going to take this edge, this corner of the mullion here, and it needs to align with this corner of the mullion here. And the doors are swinging wrong, but we don't care because these are dynamic blocks and I can easily change the swing without any hassle. And then trim this out. And I've got some superfluous lines here. So I'll just erase those. I have quite a few superfluous lines there. And I'm good, right? It's a little messy, right? I need to do a little bit of trimming here.
Well,
I
I have a
want
question.
to trim out here at the baseboards. Yes, what is your question?
So the doors, the kitchen and the conference room, right next to the door, it seems from the drawing that there was kind of a window there. I was just wondering.
Oh yeah, there is a side light there. Yeah. So you'll want to draw a side light. So just draw. I'm kind of doing this quick here, but you'll go a little slower and more detail. But yes, there'll be a side light there. And we may as well, is it on the other side? It sure is. So I'll just mirror MI, select those mullions and the light of glass, and I'll just go from the center line here. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so now I have my my walls in place. And we are now, oh, wait, no, not quite. I have at my reception area here, I have two wing walls back here, and those will hide, you know, a paralegal that'll sit there, and then there's a reception desk in the middle. So that those walls are 8 feet from the edge of the column over here. So I can't offset this column because it's part of an array, but I can just go use the line tool here, and I'll just start here, and I'll go up 8 feet, and then go across, and that wall is 6 feet 11 inches. So I'll type 6 feet 11, and then the wall goes up another 6 feet. So it goes straight up 6 feet, and then we will offset it 5. Go at this, add some end caps with the line tool here. and mirror this, right? MI for mirror. And the last, and then there's going to be some file cabinets in here, but we want to have, you know, a wall here that kind of hides, you know, people going into the washrooms. You know, you want a little bit of privacy. So I'm going to add a partition or wall from that edge of the column to the edge of the column. That will be 5 inches. And now I believe I have all of my walls in place. So the next thing I want to do is I want to save this, but I'm not gonna save this because this is my shell. So I want to actually draw the law office. So I'm going to do a save it as a separate document. And I think that I already have it started here. So I'm just going to choose that project 5. You can call it project 5 law office or project 5, whatever suits your fancy. And I'm just going to save, and yeah, I'll replace it. All right, let's take a 5-minute break, and then we will move into the furniture.
Can you tell us the measurements one more time of that short desk area?
This here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. It is 6 feet 11. Here, wait, let me. From here to here is 6'11".
Okay.
And in the vertical direction, from here to here is 6 feet.
Okay. Thank you.
And the walls themselves are 5. And the distance to this from the face of the column is 8 feet.
Okay.
All right, let's take 5 minutes and then come back and jump in with the rest of this. All right, why don't I start back in again. So I'm gonna start plopping in some furniture into our space here. And there's also some millwork here that I'm gonna plop in as well. So if you remember, there's a blocks palette, and we can access that. Well, there's a couple ways to insert blocks. One is I can go over here to the insert tab on my ribbon, click insert, and then I can access blocks that are already in my document here.
Paul,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I have a quick question. In the law library, it looks like there's a closet in the front. Is that something that would be done through the dynamic blocks, or is that something that
No, you know what? I missed it, Rebecca. So let me do that right now before we get into the blocks. Yeah, good catch. Thank you.
And that has the sliding doors that
Yeah.
Hannah was asking.
I'll
about,
get the
right?
sliding doors as well.
Can we
All right.
can we also change the arc on the door to like a dashed line?
No, I would prefer you not. I want us to maintain the normal professional conventions or the school conventions for this. So for right now, I would prefer that you not do that. All right, so yes, Rebecca pointed out that I need a closet in here. They need a place to hang up their coats. In general, a coat closet is 2 feet deep, sometimes a little deeper, but in general, 2 feet. So I'm going to offset here 24 inches or 2 feet. Oops, I guess I need to type O for offset, and 24 inches. So there's the closet depth, and I need to put in a wall, just 5 inches. All right, so now what I need to do is I need to think about where this wall here is going to be. And there is a requirement for the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, about accessing, getting in and out of doorways. And if the doorway has a closer on it, you need to maintain 18 inches on the pull side of the door. And I know that some of you may have taken the codes class. At some point you all will, but this is a sort of a heads up if you have not. So and we're going to assume that this library does have a door closer on it. So what I need to do is I need to measure over 18 inches from this jamb and then draw the wall over here. So there's a couple ways I could do it. I could just draw a line here and then offset it 18 inches, but I'll just go over home here. I'll go over to my line tool and I'll just hovering over there and I'm coming down, hover, come down. I think I'm coming down 18 inches. Oh, sure that's on. There, coming down 18 inches. And now I can go across perpendicular. And that defines where this wall is. And the wall thickness would be 5 inches. So I'll just offset 5. And I'll fillet this. So again, I'll just trim this. So again, that dimension, I'm going to draw a dimension here. Well, no, I'll just use measure here.
And is
So
that a side light there too, Paul, or it's hard to tell in the drawing?
Yeah, I believe that there is a side light there, and you'll just draw that in. So that dimension there is 1'6" or 18 inches from the jamb of the door, this line right here, to the wall. This is a very, very common dimension, and it's a dimension that you'll use over and over and over again, particularly in any public buildings. Not necessarily the case in private buildings, but in public buildings, on the pull side of the door. So this side of the door is the push side, because you would push the door open to walk in through it. But to get out, you would pull the door open towards you. And in order for a person in a wheelchair to be able to have access, to be able to reach the door handle and pull the door out while they're in a wheelchair, you need to have this 18-inch offset. All right. So now I have a sliding glass or a sliding door over here. So let's first get the opening of it, and I want it right in the middle. So what I'll do is I will start with a line from the midpoint of the back of the closet, and I'll just come across some distance. I'll just come to here. So that's going to mark the midpoint of my door opening. And then the door opening is going to be 7 feet. So I will offset half of 7 feet. So I'll offset 3.5 feet, right? 3'6" up this side, down on this side, and that will give me a 7-foot opening here. So I can get rid of this temporary line here, and then I can trim out those lines there. Okay, so now we've got a sliding door. So how big is the sliding door? Well, we said 3.5 feet, right? Is halfway. So each leaf of the sliding glass, I keep wanting to say sliding glass, but each leaf of the sliding door needs to be at least 3'6". But generally, you want to have those doors overlap. They don't always overlap, but I think it's good design practice to overlap them. So I like to add an inch, or even 1.5 inches, but I'm going to add 1 inch. So instead of the door leaf being 3'6", I'm going to make it each one 3'7". But how thick is the door? right? Well, we want the same thickness as these doors. Well, how thick are these doors? Well, let's just go over the measure here and find out if I can here. So you'll notice that these doors are 1 3/4 of an inch thick. And that is a pretty common size for a door. So I want my door leaves. I'm gonna use the rectangle tool here. And I'm just gonna draw a door leaf out here in the middle of the corridor. I'm gonna come up and I want my door leaf to be 1 3/4 of an inch. So that would be 1.75, right? 1 3/4, comma. And don't worry that that's snapping off to the right, that's fine. And then the length of the door leaf, which was 3'7", 3'7". So there is my door leaf. Now, where do I want to place it? I want the door leaf is going to kind of be the inside edge of this leaf will be at the midpoint of this door jamb, and then the other side will be at this door jamb. I'm making it more complicated than it is. Let's just move it. So let's move this, and I'm going to move from this corner to the midpoint of the opening, the jamb opening. And by the way, there's no frame on this. You know, this is just kind of a drywalled opening. You've seen on sliding glass doors. I mean, you could have a door jamb on there if you wanted, but I just make this a drywall framed opening. So there's one leaf in place, and now I just need to copy it and copy the other door leaf in place. So I'll use copy, select the door leaf, and this time I'm going to choose this corner, and I will put that at the midpoint of this door jamb. I'm going to come back. They're overlapping, and they're perfectly fine in place. They're right where they want to be. Now, the last thing I need to do is I need to put a coat rod and a hat shelf up here. And a coat rod is usually a foot away from the back wall of the door. And then the hat shelf above the coat rod just sort of extends a little bit longer. I usually make it 2 inches. So 12 inches plus 2 inches is 1 foot 2 or 14 inches. So I'll just offset 1 foot 2. And since we've been talking about it, let's just go ahead and put this on a millwork layer so that our millwork is actually on its own layers and it's no longer walls. So let's just do that. So let's go over. So there's a couple ways to get over to the layer properties palette. I can go from my home tab. I can go over to layer properties here, or I can type the keyboard shortcut, which is LA. And here are my layers. And I want to create a new layer. So I'm going to go up here. There's a few little icons over here, a number of icons here. But this one right here, and when I hover over it, it is new layer. It looks like some layers in 3D, and there's a little yellow thingamabob there in the corner. And I'm just going to click on it, and a new layer forms. And by default, it gives it layer 1. If there already is a layer 1, it'll call it layer 2. And and notice it's highlighted and it's ready for me to rename it. And I'm going to call it millwork. Or casework, you could call it that, but I generally call it millwork. And let's give it a color. So I'm going to, by default, it's set to white. And I'm going to click on it. And I'm going to set it to, let's set it to red. So now my millwork is, I have a new layer, and I have it on the red layer, or the color of the layer is red. So I'm going to close this. I'm done with that for now. And we're going to change this hat shelf here to the millwork layer. So I'm going to select it. And now I can go up here. And there's my millwork. I'll just select it. And now I'll just hit escape to deselect that. And now my millwork is on the millwork layer, which is red in this case. All right. On Jane's example, or on the previous example, actually they don't even show a hat shelf in that closet, but I'm going to show it.